Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the vlog. Real quick, before we get into the episode, I have a couple of announcements. The first is that on Saturday, September 10th, I'll be playing on the Best Bet Jacksonville live stream. I'm playing a 2-2 deep stack game and it starts at 4 p.m. You can catch the broadcast on their Twitch page and also on their YouTube page, and I'll be releasing it as a vlog in the coming week. So come on into the room and sweat things out with me. The second thing is that Kyle Fischel and I will be hosting another meetup game at Orange City Racing and Card Club on Saturday, September 17th at 1 p.m. We're going to run another 1-3 with a $10 bomb pot every dealer change. We had a really good turnout at the first one, and I'm hoping we have another good turnout for this one. So come on out, mix it up with us, and have a little bit of fun. Now, let's get into the video.
Hey, what is going on? Welcome back to the vlog. It is Friday night. And it's kind of shitty outside, but we are going to go in and mix it up and try to make some money. I'm going to do something that I don't ever do at the beginning of videos, but I'm going to say that I would like for this video to get 100 likes. So if you enjoy, please hit that thumbs up. It will help the channel. Let's get to it. Little did I know just how weird things were going to get on a Friday night. This vlog's kind of all over the place, so hang in there with me. We're starting at the 1-2 table. Take note, the 1-2. There's a button straddle, we're in +1, and we look down at pocket fours. We see the small blind, the big blind, and under the gun all complete, so when the action's on me, I call as well. As does +2, the hijack. The button checks his straddle, so we're off to a flop like a million ways. The flop is 6-6 deuce with 2 spades, so while I don't hold a spade in my hand, I actually think it's not a bad flop. The action checks to me, and I fire for $20. Under the gun is the only caller, so we're off to a turn heads up. The turn's a magical card. It's the 4 of spades, so it not only brings in the flush, but it also gives me fours full of 6s. It checks to me, and I decide to check behind for a little bit of deception. The river is a 7 of clubs, so now it brings some weird straight draws in. Under the gun fires out for $20 this time, and that's perfect. I checked on the turn to allow him to take a shot at the river, so facing that $20 bet, I bump it up to $60. My opponent calls pretty quickly. I roll it over, and we're good here on hand 1. A couple hands later, we're straddling from the button, and we look down at pocket 7s. We see 2 callers before the action gets to me, and I bump it up to $15. The hijack is the only taker, so we're off to a flop heads up. The flop is 4-6-9, so again, not a terrible flop for a pocket pair. It checks to me, and I continue on for $20, but my opponent folds. 2 early pocket pairs, 2 early wins. We're in the big blind this time, and we look down at Jack 10 of spades. It folds to the low jack, who bumps it up to $10. The cutoff calls, and it folds to me, and I think I need to be 3-betting here, but Jack 10 just doesn't play that well post-flop, at least not to me, or maybe I'm just not good enough to play it properly. So, if I'm not going to 3-bet, I should probably fold, but I don't. I end up making the call, so we're off to a flop 3 ways. The flop is 10-8-4 with 2 clubs, so I've got top pair here. So, I decide to donk out for $25. The low jack pretty quickly calls, and the cutoff folds. We're off to a turn heads up. The turn is a king of hearts. I don't necessarily love that card, and I check. My opponent then fires for $45. It's back on me, and I've played with this gentleman before. He's not going to have a lot of bluffs here. He definitely could have a hand like ace-king or maybe king-queen suited that would have called a post-flop bet to peel one off, and I just have this sneaking suspicion that I let him catch up on the turn, so I end up letting it go. I ask if he wants to show for the vlog, but he doesn't, and he says old guys like him just don't bluff. I then played a really bad hand with ace-king offsuit where I raised pre-flop and I got 2 callers. The flop was 7-7 deuce and the action checked through. The turn was a 6 and it brought in a flush draw. It checked at the button who bet $10 and me and the other player went ahead and called. And the river was a 6, double pairing the board. It checked at the button once again and he bet $16. And for whatever reason, I feel this is actually a good run out and the ace high could be good here. I call, and it's not good, as he shows 7-8 for a boat. So after winning 2 early pots, we're back down to around even. I then go card dead for about 90 minutes. During that time, I took notice of a huge 1-2 game running 1 table over. Lots of stacks over $600, and one guy has like 1.2K in front of him, so I want to get on that table.
And I got to that table about 15 minutes later, and I decided, you know what? I'm going to put the camera away and focus on the game, as there was a ton of action, and I really wanted to focus and try to build a stack. Early on, I got it all in on the turn with an ace high straight, but the river brought in a flush, and I lost $200 there. About 10 minutes later, the game switched to a 1-3, so now I'm in for $800, and I've got just under $500 in front of me. And at this point, I figured I've got to pull the camera back out and record some of this action. This table has been insanely wild, so I'm either going to go broke or I'm going to win a mortgage payment. We're straddling from the button, and we look down at Queen 5 offsuit. The action folds to the big blind, who raises to $12. I'm the only caller here, so we're off to a flop heads up. The flop is Ace Queen 5 with 2 clubs, so I flop 2 pair here. My opponent in the big blind bets out for $20. When the action's on me, feeling I have the best hand, I bump it up to $60. My opponent doesn't think too long and she calls, so we're off to the turn. The turn is a 10 of hearts, and now my opponent slows down and checks it to me. She only has about $30 left, so I bet it to put her all in, and she calls me really quickly. The river is a 3 of hearts, so backdoor hearts got there. My opponent rolls over ace 5 to river the flush on me. But it wasn't until I actually went back to put the graphics together that I realized she actually outflopped me, and I was behind pretty much the whole hand. Thank God it didn't cost me more. We're in the big blind, and we look down at ace 10 of diamonds. We see one early position caller before the cutoff bumps it up to $20. It folds around to me, and I don't just want to call and play this hand out of position. I'm happy to take it down now and show the table that I won't be pushed around, so I go ahead and raise to $60. It folds back to the cutoff, who thinks, but then he folds. You want to see how crazy this table is? We're picking it up on the turn where it checked to the button, who bet out for $55, and he got check raised by the cutoff to $425. The button goes deep into the tank here before he jams for $655 total. The hijack calls it off. We see the river, and the hijack flips over deuce 3 for a turn 2 pair. The button raised pre-flop and he bet flop, so don't ask me how the hell he got that far in the hand with deuce 3, but the action here is great. We're straddling from the button, and we look down at ace 10 offsuit. There are 4 callers before the action gets to me, and I bump it up to $45. The low jack is the only caller, so we're off to a flop heads up. The flop is ace deuce 10 rainbow, so I flop top 2 here, and my opponent leads out for $100. The action on me, there's already about $200 in the pot, and I've got about $326 left. The action here has been crazy, and I'm sure that I have the best hand here, so I overbet jam. The action's on my opponent, and there's some talk.
Wish I had ace deuce.
Ace deuce is a fucking monster here. Is that what you have?
No, I said
Oh, you said which?
It's how much more?
And I thought that I was like feeling good, bro. There was a dude that
This is about to be a crazy call.
insanity.
I think he has air.
Against the one, the other dude with the 25, he like casually lost
Either air or ace 10. But I'm about to
Yeah,
make
they
a crazy call.
and he laughed.
30.
Like, what the fuck is
Oh, this might be a crazy call.
How crazy you feeling?
He's been in the tank a full 3 minutes now, and I'm just staring at the board, trying not to give anything else away. My opponent eventually calls, so we'll see a run out. The run out is clean, and we win this one here. My opponent never showed, so I'm not sure what he had, but we scoop a big pot in our direction to get back to around even.
Actually beat him with the hand that I had.
You had that?
Yeah, and he had aces and jacks. Let's get on a
There's a button straddle, we're in +1, and we look down at pocket jacks. The small blind and the big blind both complete. When the action folds to me, I bump it up to $40. It folds to the cutoff, who then re-raises to $110. Back on me, and I hate this spot. I think being out of position, I should be re-raising here, probably jamming, but I haven't run super well tonight, so I end up just calling. That's probably a mistake, but we're off to a flop heads up. The flop is ace queen deuce. Just terrible. I can navigate my hand against an ace or a queen high flop, but not both. I check, my opponent fires for $200. I fold face up, and what does he flip over? Ace 5 offsuit. I guess maybe the ace and the queen being flopped actually saved me some money here. I don't know. Stupid. The beauty about the 1-3 game at Orange City is there's a $10 bomb pot every dealer change, and I took one down earlier with Ace King when I flopped 2 pair. It's another $10 bomb pot, and we're in the big blind. We go straight to a flop of 7-8-8 rainbow. It checks around to me, and I decide to look down, and I look down at 6-8, so I flop trips here. I throw a bet out of $55. Only the low jack calls, the same guy from the Ace-10 hand, so we're off to a turn heads up. The turn is a 10 of clubs. And I hate this, as it brings in Jack-9 for a straight, which anyone at this table could definitely have with the way the action's been. I check it over to see what my opponent's going to do, but he checks behind. Wouldn't you know it, the river, an 8 of spades. We have backed into quads here. My opponent has about $235 left, and I think a jam's just going to be too strong, so I actually choose a smaller sizing and I fire out for $115. My opponent then rolls over pocket aces as he ponders what to do. I guess a jam probably would have been the right move here, but who the hell knew he was going to wake up with aces in a bomb pot? After about 15 seconds or so, he calls. Unfortunately, it didn't qualify for the high hand bonus, but it's still a win and we scoop chips. I played about another 20 minutes or so and I lost a few small hands. Many of the big stacks and the loose players were leaving, so after starting the vlog and then putting the camera away and then restarting the vlog, I racked up and I called it a night.
Wow. What a night. I don't even know what to say. Well, I say it's not what I expected, but it seems like a typical Friday night. Started off with some pocket pairs early. I thought, oh shit, this is gonna be a great night. And then like almost 2 hours of just being absolutely card dead. I see the monster stacks at the table next to me. I eventually get moved over there. Decide to go ahead and put the camera away to really focus on my game. Get it all in with the nut straight against a flush draw, lose that. Then the game switches to a 1-3. And I'm like, well, I gotta vlog that. Lose the hand where I flop 2 pair with Queen 5 against the young lady. I mean, it's fine. It didn't cost me a ton of money, but it really started to tilt me. And I was down, I was down like $400 and something at that point. And then just got in some monster hands. Was able to get paid off twice by the same guy. God, what a crazy night. And then, gave a little bit back at the end, but the action was so good. I can't complain. We were into tonight's game for $800. Haven't done that in a while. Out for $760. So we played 4.5 hours, lost about $10 an hour. It's not terrible, trust me. If you enjoy, like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.
If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more poker content. And you can follow me on Instagram at 7cardflushpoker.